How frustrating was that? You know, you work all off season, you're finally starting your first career game, and first drive, you break your foot.
It's frustrating for sure. Took it as a growing experience though. At first, it kind of messed with me a little bit, but you live and you learn. So I think overall, it ended up being a good thing for me. I got my head in the right spot, and I think it really put things in perspective for me. Don't take things for granted.
Can you count yourself back now, or will you be available to play for Clemson, or do you know yet?
I've been working back, feeling pretty good right now. That's really all I've got to say towards that.
Tate, did you even know what Liz Frank was before you were diagnosed?
I had no clue.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of it before. They told me. They said that's what they're pretty sure it was when it happened, and so I had to ask them what it was. I had no clue.
What was the toughest part of the recovery process?
Definitely being on a knee scooter for around, I think it was 10 weeks. So only having one leg for that long was pretty tough. And then of course, at the back end of it, it was getting back in shape. That was really tough. So.
Did you feel like you were like on the ride for the national championship? Were you kind of like a spectator because you weren't on the field? How did you kind of deal with that?
I think with our offensive line room and being around them the whole time, I definitely felt like I was a part of it. I think we have a really close group, so they really brought me into it and made me feel like I was a part of it.
How different do you feel physically like right now compared to even back in the spring? I know you're doing some stuff, but obviously still limited.
There's some strength stuff I've got to work on, of course, but I feel pretty much back to normal.
I guess mentally, where do you think you've come the most since this time last year with all the time you had to kind of self-reflect and things like that?
Like I said, don't take things for granted because I was on top of the world starting for us, and then next thing I know, it's over with. So definitely feel like I understand the game better just sitting back and watching and not really as much playing. Mentally, I'm definitely a lot stronger than I was.
You mentioned your teammates kind of kept you in. And what role did they play in sort of keeping your spirits up and making you feel involved? And what did that process look like from their side?
A lot bigger one than they know. It was seeing them every day is really what kept me sane during that time. It was coming in here, just seeing them, going to meetings, talking to them. So they played a really big role in that.
What have you learned about Stacey Searles in this last several months, I guess?
He'll coach you, which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
He brings the energy every day, and I'm a big fan of it. So.
How's your toe doing? What's your toe?
It's good. It's getting better.
How as far as picking up things that defensive linemen doing like with stunts and stuff like that?
You said what?
I said, how are you doing it as far as going against defensive linemen, as far as their stunts and what they do to try to play off you? With mobility, it's got that kind of thing.
I mean, it was tough before. It's tough now. It's just the guys I go against every day. They make it tough. So, yeah, of course, it's a learning curve getting back into that and transition into it. But the more we go, the more we compete, the better it gets.
A few weeks ago, we talked to Coach Monk, and he talked about how valuable you actually getting the reps out there was going to be. I mean, you could only do so much mentally. How valuable do you feel like those reps you have been able to get out there with your teammates? How valuable do you feel like that's been?
I think it's been very valuable, especially getting to know the guy you're playing against again. Because when you can tell a drop off when you're not playing next to somebody. Like if I'm playing next to Mims and Warren McClendon, I can definitely tell a difference in their play styles. So that's definitely different, but it's been good getting back out there and getting those reps.
Is it like trying to block Jalen Carter?
We go out there and compete every day. He definitely gets me better, and I try to get him better. But it's tough.
You coming back from your injury, how's going against a guy who might be the best defensive lineman in America? Does that give you more confidence, knowing that, hey, if I can win some battles against this guy, I can go out there and do pretty well on Saturdays?
Going against him definitely gives me more confidence just because I know that I'm going against one of the best. He's definitely gotten me a lot better since I've been back, and he's a really good player.
Standing here today, what do you know about the Oregon Ducks?
We just got done with scrimmage too, so we're still got a lot of stuff to work on ourselves. We're going to get into them later in the week. So
what's your general anticipation for playing a top 11 team in that game, Chick-fil-A in Atlanta?
I think we got that experience last year with Clemson, and I think it's going to be a competitive game.
Tate, you were regarded as the best run blocker by some prior to the injury. How close to last year's version are you right now, do you feel?
I think I'm very close to last year's version. Of course, there's a little hiccups here and there, learning curves that I've got to get through with this. A lot of it's mental. I think physically I'm pretty close to where I was.
What are the emotions like at the prospect of getting back out there, having had to sit out for so long?
A lot of joy. First day of practice, I mean, I had the biggest smile on my face that I've ever had in my life. It was just great to be back out there and get back to it.
Coach Smart, when you ask him about torn ACL, something like that, he says guys need to get confidence back in the knee or whatever. How much of that have you had to go through just getting confidence back in that foot?
The first big step was how it happened, was sitting on a bull rush. And I think one day I got bull rush and instinctively just stuck it back there. And after that, it was like, okay, I can do this now. So.
What's the story behind the mullet, and is that kind of part of the brand? College athletes these days have a brand, right?
Yes and no. In high school, I wasn't allowed to have long hair. Private school, couldn't touch the collar. Then got to college, and I was like, I'm gonna do something with this. So I had like a 6-month awkward phase, but here it is now, and I see it as I'm too far into it to cut it now. So
You guys rock it for the whole season?
of course.
Have there been any direct NIL benefits from the mullet?
Not that I can think of.
Because y'all got the buzz cut boys going now. Is there like a rivalry between you with the mullet and them with the buzz cut, or?
Oh man, that's a bad deal.
We've seen some of the other offensive guards work at left guard. What have you seen from Xavier Truss, what he brings to the table?
I think Truss is a great player. He comes every day ready to work. He's fundamentally sound, I think, and he plays hard.
What's the common denominator between all those guys kind of in that scrum at guard right now? The common thing all those guys kind of bring?
I think we're all really physical, really athletic, can move, and I think we all get each other better with the competition that's going on.
After a year on the sidelines, do you think that you see the game differently than you did before? Do you look at any parts of the game differently than you did before your injury?
Just more thankful for it. Looking out there now and really just watching and not, I see defenses better, I feel like. But other than that, it's really just being thankful to be back out there.
Some of the other growth that you've had, you mentioned you think you're close to being back physically to where you were. How different are you as a player, though, after one full year in the program?
More mentally sharp. I think I recognized things a lot better before they happen. I think old me was more just go. Now me's seeing stuff and happen and reacting to it better.
What can you say about Stetson? Obviously, this is his first off season. He's been able to come into a season that's kind of QB1 and doing his thing. What have you seen from him in terms of development progress? Just your observations.
I think Stetson still got that same grit and same hungriness that he's always had. He comes out every day and works too. We always get his best, and he expects the same from us.
What have you seen from Devin Wood?
A lot of improvement. He's gotten a lot better. He's really physical. He's long, big. He's got a lot of intangibles that a lot of people don't have, and he uses them very well.
Is your playing weight about the same as it was last year?
Yes, it's exactly the same.
320?
Around there, 318, 320.
Do you think people fully appreciate what happened in those just few minutes of the Clemson game where you're injured, you're the starting right guard, you got to come out, Erickson comes in, Cedric at the center, and you guys won that game, and you won every game, up until the SEC championship game. Can everybody, do you think people appreciate what happened in that moment and how y'all adjusted?
I think it's always been a next man up mentality, like that's been said before, but I don't think people really see it as that. I think people are just like, oh, here goes somebody else, but I think we went in and performed, and no matter what happens, always a next man up mentality, and if your number's called, you got to go perform.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Can you talk a little bit about your podcast and how that venture came about?
Me and Cody were just sitting at lunch one day, and he was like, I kind of want to start a podcast, and I was like, let's do it. So we talked about it and kind of got that thing started. We did the intro episode the other day, so that's really how that just came about. It was kind of just a spur of the moment thing.
What's the competition level at guard done for you? I mean, just the fact that you guys have a lot of options, a lot of talented guys there at guard.
It's pushed me a lot. Definitely, I try not to base my play off of other people, but you got to stay sharp. No bad days aren't an option. I think that's for everybody. That's just a general idea in our offensive line room is no bad days. And it definitely pushes everybody to be better.
Thank you, Tate.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks.